Chapter 9 of the Grell Mystery. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Christine Blashford. The Grell Mystery by Frank Froest. Chapter 9. The overmastering energy of Heldon Foyle was at once the envy and despair of his subordinates. There was a story that once he went without sleep for a week while unravelling the mystery of the robbery of the Countess of Enver's pearls. That was probably exaggerated, but he certainly spent no unnecessary time for rest or food when work was toward, and he saw also that his staff were urged to the limits of human endurance. Having spent 4 hours sleeping in his clothes, he deemed that he had paid full courtesy to nature. He unlocked a drawer, picked out a deadly little automatic pistol, and dropped it into his jacket pocket. He rarely went armed, and had never fired a shot in his life save at a target, but on certain occasions a pistol was useful to back a bluff, and on the mission he had in mind he might need something. He felt in his breast pocket to make certain that the enlarged photograph of the fingerprints found on the dagger were there, and sallied forth into the dusk. In his own mind he had definitely decided on the immediately important points in the inquiry. There was Ivan, the missing servant, to be found, as also the Princess Petrovska. The police of a dozen countries were keeping a lookout for them. Then there was the knife with its quaint horizontal hilt of ivory. Rigorous inquiry had failed to elicit its place of origin, yet so strange a weapon once seen would infallibly be recognized again. Finally, there was the question of Sir Ralph Fairfield. The evening papers had seized avidly on a mystery after their own heart, and glaring contents bills told of "Millionaire murdered on wedding eve, strange mystery." But Foyle had already seen the papers. He held straight on for the Albany. Was Sir Ralph Fairfield in? The question was superfluous, for he had already seen Chief Detective Inspector Green standing outside, apparently much interested in an evening paper, and Green would not have been there unless Sir Ralph were about. Foyle was received coldly by the baronet, and his quick eyes noted a half-empty decanter on the table. Fairfield was palpably nervous and ill at ease. He was plainly distrustful of his visitor's purpose. The detective was apologetic and good-humoured. "I have come to apologize for my rudeness at Grosvenor Gardens," he began. "I was worried, and you were, of course, upset. Now we are both more calm, I come to ask you if you would like to add anything to what you said. Of course, you'll be called to give evidence at the inquest, and it would make it easier for you, as well as for us, if we knew what you were going to say." Fairfield shrugged his shoulders. "I have told you all you will learn from me," he said quickly. "I suppose you've seen Lady Eileen Meredith?" "No." The lie was prompt, but the superintendent salved his conscience with the thought that it was a necessary one. "I don't know that she can tell us anything of value." An expression of relief flitted over the face of Grell's friend. After all, it was something to have the worst postponed. A man may face swift danger with debonair courage, may be undaunted by perils or emergencies of sport, of travel, of everyday life. But few innocent men can believe that a net is slowly closing round them which will end in the obloquy of the Central Criminal Court or in a shameful death, without feeling something of the terror of the hunted. The terror of the law is very real in such cases. Fairfield was no coward, but his nerves had begun to go under the strain of the suspense. It would have been different had he been able to do anything, to find relief in action, but he had to remain passively impotent. "Well," he said, "I expect you're very busy, Mr. Foyle. I don't want to keep you." The detective received the snub with an amiable smile. "I won't force my company on you, Sir Ralph. If you will just dictate to me a description of the string of pearls that Grell showed you, I will go. Can you let me have a pen and some paper?" Ungraciously enough, Fairfield flung open a small inlaid writing desk, and Foyle took down the description as though he really needed it. As he finished, he held out the pen to Fairfield. "Will you sign that, please? No, here." Their hands were almost touching. Foyle half rose and stumbled clumsily, clutching the other's wrist to save himself. The baronet's hand and fingers were pressed down heavily on the still wet writing. The detective recovered his balance and apologized profusely, at the same time picking up the sheet of paper. "I don't know how I came to do that. I'm very sorry. It smudged the paper a bit, but that won't matter. It's still readable. Good-bye, Sir Ralph." So admirably had the accident been contrived that even Fairfield never suspected that it was anything but genuine. In a public telephone box a few hundred yards away, Heldon Foyle was examining the half sheet of notepaper side by side with the photograph of the fingerprints on the dagger. A telephone box is admirably constructed for the private examination of documents if one's back is towards the door and one is bent over the directory. Line by line, Foyle traced laterals, lakes, and accidentals, calling to his aid a magnifying glass from his waistcoat pocket. When he emerged, he was rubbing his chin vigorously. The prints were totally different. Sir Ralph Fairfield was not the murderer of the man so astoundingly like Robert Grell. End of chapter 9.